Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol. And I'd like to say good morning to Unit 3, Saint Richards Episcopal School. A pleasure to meet you and look forward to hearing your presentation. My name is Emmanuel Caudillo. I serve as a senior advisor with the White House Hispanic Prosperity Initiative in Washington, D.C. Pass along to Jen to introduce herself.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jen Howell. I am the co-executive director of Virginia Civics. We are the home of the Virginia We the People program.
My name is Tom Tinder, and I'm an attorney from Charleston, West Virginia.
May the panel introduce themselves as well as their teacher.
Hello, I'm Alex Rose.
My name is Sam Salzer.
Hi, I'm Shannon Miller.
My name is Jade Springer, and our teacher is Miss Neal.
Thank you so much. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to read the question, and once I conclude reading the question, then you may begin. In the Virginia Plan, James Madison proposed proportional representation in both houses of Congress. The delegates rejected Madison's proposal in favor of the Great Compromise. What is the Great Compromise and how was it justified? Do you think the founders' justification is acceptable today? Why or why not? What are the advantages and disadvantages of equal representation in the Senate? What are the advantages and disadvantages of changing the Senate to proportional representation? You may begin.
One man, one vote is a popular mantra for groups that seek greater representation in government. It reflects the belief that each individual deserves an equal say in an issue, and proportional representation follows this principle. This idea was the main reason that James Madison's plan of organizing Congress included proportional representation in both chambers. However, the small states at the time thought this would give larger states too much power. Their dispute led to the Great Compromise, which provided equal representation in the Senate to give the smaller states a greater voice. Without this compromise, the smaller states would have not ratified the Constitution, and the convention would have collapsed.
The Great Compromise was necessary then and now, both for its substance and for the model it set for political behavior. The mix of equal and proportional representation protects our system of federalism. In addition, this decision is example for generations. Yet today, willingness to compromise is rare. Some issues such as healthcare and immigration have become so political that lacking bipartisan support, no progress is made. Earlier this year, Congress passed the COVID relief bill on a purely partisan vote, where there was no spirit of compromise.
If the framers had not compromised, the young country would have been stuck with the Articles of Confederation that didn't work. The Articles gave too much power to individual states, and the national government could not tax or impose order as seen in Shays' Rebellion. The Great Compromise was the first of many compromises that led to a stronger nation. In modern times, compromises have led to the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1996 Welfare Reform Law.
The Senate is based on equal representation, which reflects the principle of federalism, in which power is shared between the national and state governments. By design, the House represents the people and the Senate represents the interests of the states. By maintaining equal representation, states retain an important role in Congress and provide a check on the more democratic House. The Senate often can be seen slowing down and revising legislation that begins in the House. Although today, this happens for more partisan reasons.
While equal representation guarantees states an equal voice, it does not guarantee that all people or groups are represented fairly. One study says the voting power of a Wyoming resident is 67 times that of a Californian. Critics of equal representation note that the majority of America's non-white population lives in medium and large-sized states. Small states tend to be rural and white. In reality, equal representation means minorities have a lesser say in the Senate.
If the Senate were changed to proportional representation, each state would be represented differently. Texas might have 9 senators, so 1 for Vermont. The chief advantage is that this would move the country closer to the democratic ideal of one person, one vote. As it is today, citizens of small states have disproportionate influence in Congress. We live in a large, mobile, and multicultural society. 47 Americans don't live in the state in which they were born. There is less reason today for individual states to hold so much power. Some would argue that equal representation is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause.
The biggest disadvantage of ending equal representation is that it diminishes the role of the states in our national government, which was a chief concern of the Anti-Federalists in 1787. If the Senate was to become proportional, states like Rhode Island would largely be ignored. Also, equal representation might make our country's political polarization worse. A look at an electoral map reveals that states on the east and west coast tend to be more liberal, and states in the middle of the country are more conservative. Equal representation ensures a wider debate on policy issues that might not happen in a system of pure majority rule.
The only way to change equal representation is to amend the Constitution, and this is unlikely to happen. 38 states are needed to ratify, and 26 states out of the 50 have a population of 5 million or less. Further, the Constitution says that no amendment may be created to deprive a state of its equal suffrage in the Senate without the state's consent. Would Rhode Island agree? We think it's unlikely small states would give up their power. We are ready for your questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I look very much forward to our discussion. And so let's begin with that question and actually that topic you're talking about. So you shared about the advantages, disadvantages of proportional representation in the Senate, including about what Rhode Island would think, if they were given this option. But what about you? What about you? This is your opinion here. Should we change the Constitution to make representation in the Senate based on population? Why or why not?
I think no matter what happens, there will always be some people who are happy and unhappy, because right now some might say that the larger states have their equal protection clause has been violated for the larger states. However, if we were to change it to proportional representation, then the equal protection clause could be said to violate the small states.
I agree with Sam. To get that, to be able to change the Constitution, we would need consent of the small states, which would not most likely happen due to it affecting the small states.
That is true, but I believe that we should do it based on population to give a chance for minorities to be represented more in the Senate. Kind of like proportional representation, when you can feel more represented because there more people being able to be elected, unlike the Senate, when you might feel underrepresented because, first of all, you have a bigger population than other states, but you also have minorities who don't have the chance to have their voice heard.
Great, thank you. So why is it important for states to be represented? Isn't it all about the people? I mean, we the people. So why do states need to have representation?
Go ahead,
Oh,
Alex.
Sam, okay. I would say that states need to be represented because it's always based on popular vote with states, because they take what the popular vote is and then that state becomes represented out of the 51 states.
You talked about partisanship. You mentioned that. And we have two main parties, political parties in the United States. And sometimes it's difficult to get them to make a decision or agree upon something. Would it be beneficial, or why not, should we increase the number of main political parties to 3 or 4 or 5 parties so that they would have to work together and come up with some sort of compromise? Why or why not?
I think that would be a nice idea. If you look at countries such as Germany or the United Kingdom, which have multiple parties, and you see how well they work, then it may be a bit more dysfunctional, but overall it does help with compromise and making sure neither side is not willing to compromise.
More parties, the better, to incorporate different ideals. However, in practice, that might not happen because right now the country is split along Democrat and Republican lines, and a lot of people are not willing to leave those parties.
I agree with Sam. When you have more parties, there's more ideas, and when you have more ideas, more things will get done.
In your presentation, and also in part of my response to the question I asked you earlier, You had mentioned, and it's something new because I haven't heard it before, that the equal representation, like in the Senate, could be violating the equal protection law. Can you expand on that? I'm pretty interested to hear about that take.
Like we said in our speech, the minorities could be said to have a lesser say in the Senate, and the Equal Protection Clause applies to everyone and says that everyone must have an equal say in government.
I agree. With the Senate being how it is today, with our population differences with California compared to Rhode Island, it makes people like in California have a bit lesser say because there's so many people who are only being represented by only 2 people. So I think it's not necessarily the best balance.
And what about your state? How does Indiana fare here with equal representation?
I would say Indiana is more of a medium state because we do have a fair number of representatives in the House. However, we do not have anywhere near as many as California or near as few as Rhode Island. So we're right there in the middle. So I think equal representation does hurt us, but it does hurt us, but doesn't hurt us as much as California, and not enough to make it necessary to move to proportional representation for our state.
So do you all feel represented in the current system?
I would say that I feel represented, but some minorities are not represented. So there's a big mix of both. So for me personally, I would say that I'm represented in Indiana.
Obviously, none of us are highly represented because we are minors. You have to factor that in as well.
I agree with what Sam was saying. I think here in Indiana, we wouldn't really need to switch to proportional representation, especially with California being bigger. They have a more diverse population and have more minorities than we do. So I think, I don't know how I feel in representation, but I do feel that California should have more than we do.
Thank you.
Let me go back to your comment all the way back about the Great Compromise. We have one state in the United States, Nebraska, that only has one house. They have a unicameral legislature as opposed to other states that have both a House and a Senate. Do you think that's a good system? And also, why do you think other states have not followed Nebraska and gone with one House unicameral legislature?
I think that's a good system because it puts all the pressure on the small everyday people to choose the best representative to make sure their voice is heard, because there's so many representatives and compared to only 2 per county or whatnot. And I also think the other reason other states have not done it is because how America as an overall federal system, the states want to make sure they sort of copy the other systems. So I feel like without that, it may be changed, but because of the federal system we have in place, the states will not change their ways.
Well, great job, great job. You all can now breathe a sigh of relief. Thank you so much for your presentation and also the discussion period. And I like calling it a discussion period and a question and answer because it really is a conversation between us, the judge panel, and yourselves. We're here just to learn more from what you presented. And I have to say congratulations on an incredible job. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love that you brought in new things. You thought outside the box and bringing new things about the impact of equal representation on minorities, which plays a big role since the minority population here in the United States has grown tremendously. You talk about things such as the important, how potentially could violate the equal protection law, equal representation. That's something that I like because it makes us think here as judges too. It's like, oh wow, let me think about that more. And so we appreciate that so much, and I thank you so much for your presentation. So I'll pass it to my other judges to share their thoughts.
Yeah, I think you guys did a great job. I thought that your opening statement was, the word that comes to mind is sophisticated. It was a sophisticated analysis of the question, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think there toward the end, I made a note here. It was a really good analysis of kind of the likelihood of constitutional amendment. I thought that was a particularly well thought out approach. I think during the follow up, the question and answer period, just be a little bit more confident in your answers. I mean, I think you all have studied this stuff way more recently than we have, and I know you have a lot to say about it. So I just wanted to hear just a few more examples from you. So when we circle back tomorrow and go on to the next question, have some examples in your back pocket that you can bring out to support your opinions, which I know are well formed. So just give us a few more examples in there. But I really enjoyed this, and I'm really looking forward to sitting down with you again tomorrow.
I don't know where your school is located in Indiana, but I've heard comments made that there's a casino or something down in the southern part of Indiana that has a lot of people that go there on normal times. And so I'm going to use a casino term that you understand. One word: bingo. You did a great job. You covered all the squares up and down diagonally. You just did an excellent job. I really, really enjoyed your opening presentation. This is supposed to be like a congressional hearing, and we're a congressional panel, and you're experts. Well, you came across as excellent experts in your opening presentation. I mean, you talked about current events, which is so important in my opinion in this, because we're talking about stuff that happened 250 years ago. Well, what has that got to do with me today? And you brought up all of these recent events and laws and issues and so forth that are now to demonstrate and to illustrate what you were talking about that happened back in the late 1700s. You said after your 4-minute presentation, you were ready for our questions, and you were ready for our questions. But I do want to emphasize something that Emmanuel said. When we ask you a question, don't think, what's a right answer? Or, I don't want to say something that may not be, would be a wrong answer. There are no right answers. There are no wrong answers in this We the People program. It's, we're asking you a question and you give us an answer. And so consequently, and it's based upon your opinion and based upon your knowledge and your research, and you have all that in spades. And so consequently, just, when we ask you a question, just jump on it and give us all the information and the research and the knowledge that you have. I thought you did a very good job. Congratulations to you. Please continue to be the good citizens that you are and be the leaders in your school and in your community and in your state. Congratulations to you. Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.